It is okay. You can eat your lunch. It looks tasty today.
The lunchroom was louder than usual, forks clinking, children laughing, trays sliding, teachers packing. But the father did not hear any of it. His name was Marcus Daniels, a well-known lawyer with a calm face that rarely cracked under pressure. But today, that calmness was hanging by a thread. He stood just inside the doorway of Maple Ridge Elementary, watching the chaos of lunchtime unfold. Students bounced around with the carefree energy only kids possessed. Teachers monitored gently. The smell of jollof rice, fries, and chicken nuggets filled the air. But Marcus wasn't here for the food or the noise. He was here because of Hannah. His 6-year-old daughter, caramel-skinned, bright-eyed, tiny braids beaded with pink tips, had been coming home with the same quiet complaint for 2 weeks. "Daddy, Mr. Lewis stands too close to me. I don't like it." Before we continue, if you believe our stories deserve to be heard, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves meaningful African tales. Let's keep our stories alive together. At first, Marcus had assumed she meant the teacher was strict, or maybe she felt pressure learning in class. Kids her age often used vague language for anything uncomfortable. But then she said something that made his stomach sink. "He touches my shoulder too much, and he always wants to help me when I say I'm fine." That night, Marcus didn't sleep. So today, without calling ahead, without telling the school, without waiting for another parent-teacher meeting, he came to see for himself. He scanned the room now, searching for his daughter. It didn't take long to find her. She was seated at a corner table with 2 other little girls, swinging her legs, eating her lunch quietly. And then Marcus saw him. Mr. Lewis. Mid-30s, tall, fair-skinned, smiling too widely. A man who blended into any crowd because he looked harmless, ordinary even. But today, his every move felt wrong. Marcus watched the teacher stroll toward Hannah's table. Something in Marcus stiffened. Mr. Lewis bent down beside Hannah, too close, resting one hand on the back of her chair. Hannah immediately pulled inward, shoulders tightening. Then Marcus saw it. The teacher's hand slid from the chair to Hannah's back. Soft, slow, familiar. Hannah froze. Marcus's jaw locked. Mr. Lewis leaned in to whisper something in her ear. And Hannah flinched. That was it. Marcus stepped forward, pushing through the lunchroom tables, moving with a calm rage that made other teachers stand aside without asking questions. He reached the table just as Mr. Lewis reached for Hannah's arm. Marcus's hand shot out, grabbing the teacher's wrist midair. The cafeteria went silent in an instant. Students looked up. Teachers froze. Hannah turned, eyes widening with relief and fear all at once. Marcus lowered his voice, deadly calm. "Take your hand off my daughter." Mr. Lewis stuttered. "Yes, sir, I was just helping." "Helping her do what?" Marcus asked, stepping between them, blocking the teacher's access completely. The entire lunchroom watched. A teacher in the corner whispered, "Is that her dad?" Another murmured, "Something is wrong." Mr. Lewis gave a shaky smile. "You're misunderstanding." "No," Marcus said. "I'm seeing exactly what I came to see." Mr. Lewis's face drained of color. "And then," Hannah whispered, voice trembling. "Daddy, I told you." That single sentence sliced the room open like lightning. Marcus turned fully toward the teacher. His voice carried across the cafeteria. "Touch her again and I swear." "Sir," the principal rushed over, voice frantic. "Let's calm down." "No," Marcus didn't break eye contact with Mr. Lewis. "You need to hear this, because today, right here, in front of everyone, you're done." The children stared, confused but startled. Hannah clung to her father's hand. The principal grabbed Marcus's arm. "We can discuss this in my office." Marcus's voice thundered, louder than the cafeteria chatter had ever been. "This man has been harassing my daughter." Gasps filled the room. Every head turned to Mr. Lewis. The teacher's lips quivered. That's not true. She's lying. She's twisting things. I'm just supportive with my students." "Supportive," Marcus snapped, "or grooming?" A dead quiet fell over the hall. A teacher dropped her spoon. The principal stammered, "Mr. Daniels, please. This is a serious accusation." "Oh, it's more than an accusation." Marcus stepped forward, towering over Mr. Lewis. "It's evidence, and today you just gave it to me yourself." Mr. Lewis's eyes darted left and right as if searching for an escape route. His breathing quickened. The principal tried again. "Let's discuss this properly." "No discussion," Marcus said. "I'm pressing charges." The principal's face went pale. Children whispered. Mr. Lewis stumbled backward, knocking into a nearby tray stand, sending metal trays crashing to the floor. The sharp noise echoed through the lunchroom. And then, without warning, Mr. Lewis turned and bolted toward the hallway door. The cafeteria erupted. Marcus reached for Hannah, pulling her close, but his eyes stayed locked on the fleeing teacher. That was when a second scream cut through the room. This time from a group of students running from the hallway. He locked the door behind him. Teachers rushed forward, students cried, the room plunged into panic. Marcus stepped forward. Every instinct in him whispered that whatever Mr. Lewis was about to do next was far worse than anything he had seen so far. And as the room fell into chaos, the lunchroom lights flickered. Someone shouted. He went toward the CLASSROMS. Marcus's heart pounded. What was Mr. Lewis planning? Where was he running to? Why did he lock the door? And most importantly, was Hannah still safe? The moment Mr. Lewis disappeared down the hallway, the air inside the lunchroom shifted into something cold, sharp, and frightening. Teachers tried to calm the frightened students, but chaos swelled anyway. Chairs scraping, kids crying, trays dropping, loud whispers turning into trembling questions. Marcus gently crouched to Hannah's level, gripping her small hands. "Hannah, look at me. Are you okay?" Hannah nodded slowly, though her eyes were still wide and watery. "Daddy, why did he run?" Marcus swallowed hard, because he knows he did something wrong. A security guard pushed through the crowd, rushing toward the hallway. The principal followed, muttering panicked instructions into her walkie-talkie. Marcus turned to one of the teachers. "Stay with my daughter. Please do not let her out of your sight." The teacher, a middle-aged woman with glasses, nodded immediately. "She'll be safe with me." She held Hannah protectively, shielding her from the commotion around them. But even with Hannah in safe hands, Marcus couldn't ignore the tight knot forming in his chest. Something felt off, terribly off. The teacher's panic, the locked door, the sprint toward the classrooms. This was more than guilt. This was fear. Marcus straightened and stepped toward the hallway. "Sir," the principal called out. "Please stay in the cafeteria." "No," he said firmly, "I'm going after him." "But you're not authorized." "I'm a father," Marcus said without raising his voice. "That's all the authorization I need." He pushed the door and slipped into the quiet hallway. The atmosphere changed instantly. The cafeteria was loud, but here it felt suffocating. The fluorescent lights hummed. Every doorway seemed darker than usual. He could hear faint footsteps ahead. Marcus followed them. He walked past the trophy case, the reading corner, the lockers plastered with colorful stickers. Everything felt wrong, like the school had become a maze holding its breath. Up ahead, he saw the security guard standing at a locked classroom door, jiggling the handle. "It's shut tight," the guard muttered. He ran in there and closed it. Marcus stepped closer. "Did you look inside?" The guard shook his head. Windows are covered. We don't know what he's doing." The principal hurried over, clutching the keys. Her hands trembled as she flipped through them. "I've never seen him act this way. Mr. Lewis is quiet, gentle, respectful." Marcus gave her a hard stare. "You need to stop saying his name like he's harmless." The principal avoided his eyes as she found the right key and inserted it. Before she turned it, she whispered anxiously, "What is he planning?" Marcus didn't answer. He didn't know. But he remembered Hannah's words. And he remembered the way the teacher touched her. And he remembered the panic on the man's face when caught. Whatever was behind this door, he had to be ready. The lock clicked. The guard pushed the door open. The room was dim, curtains pulled shut, lights off. Desks were scattered as if moved in a hurry. Papers lay across the floor. And at the back of the classroom, next to the teacher's desk, stood Mr. Lewis, breathing heavily, shaking. His eyes darted frantically between Marcus, the guard, and the principal. "Stay where you are," the guard warned. But Mr. Lewis didn't move or speak. He simply gripped the edge of the desk like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Marcus's voice came out low, steady and unblinking. "What were you planning to do?" The teacher's chest rose and fell faster, like he was drowning in panic. "You don't understand," he whispered. "You don't know what this means for me." "You mean what you were doing to those kids?" Marcus shot back. "To my daughter." Mr. Lewis winced, lowering his head. It's not what you think." "Then explain it." Silence. Deep, suffocating silence. The principal stepped forward. "Christopher, we need you to hand over your badge and your keys until further notice. We've called district authorities and the police." At the mention of police, Mr. Lewis's eyes widened. He whispered a single word. "No." He stumbled backward and knocked over a stack of books. His hand brushed something on the desk. Marcus noticed it immediately. A phone. Unlocked. And the screen showed an open message thread. A thread filled with pictures. Children. Selfies. Classroom shots. And one picture of Hannah, her tiny hands holding a drawing, her smile innocent. Marcus's breath left his body. He lunged forward, snatching the phone before Mr. Lewis could react. The teacher shouted, "Don't touch that." Marcus held it up, screen facing the principal. The principal gasped. "Oh my God." Then she whispered something no one ever wanted to hear. "How long has this been going on?" Mr. Lewis backed up until he hit the wall. "Please don't do this. I can explain." "You'll explain in court," Marcus said. The guard seized Mr. Lewis, handcuffing him as the teacher trembled violently. Within minutes, police sirens wailed outside. Officers arrived, read him his rights, and escorted him away. Students pressed against hallway windows, watching the scene unfold without fully understanding its weight. Marcus finally returned to the lunchroom. Hannah ran straight into his arms. "Daddy, are you okay?" He hugged her tightly, refusing to let go for several seconds. "I'm okay, baby, and you're safe." But inside, Marcus felt sick. If he hadn't come today, if Hannah hadn't spoken up, if the teacher hadn't slipped, how far would he have gone? The thought made Marcus hold her tighter. Hannah looked up at him, frowning softly. "Daddy, is he going to be punished?" Marcus nodded gently. "Yes, he will." The principal approached, shame clouding her face. "Mr. Daniels, I'm so sorry." Marcus didn't respond immediately. He just held his daughter's hand, holding onto the only thing that mattered. Finally, he spoke. "This isn't over, not until justice is done." And deep down, he knew something else. This wasn't the first child Mr. Lewis had targeted. And it wouldn't be the last, unless Marcus took this to the very end. The police cars had long pulled away from Maple Ridge Elementary, but the weight of what happened lingered across the campus like a heavy fog. Children whispered in pockets, teachers stood in uneasy clusters, and parents arrived early after frantic texts and phone calls. Marcus walked through the front doors of the school office with Hannah's small hand wrapped tightly in his. He didn't let her go, not even for a second. Her presence reminded him why he had to keep pushing, why he couldn't let anything slide. Inside the office, the atmosphere was stiff. The principal sat at her desk, red-eyed and visibly shaken. Two school board members stood near the wall, speaking in low tones. The counselor, Mrs. Carter, hovered nervously. The moment they saw Marcus, the murmurs stopped. "Mr. Daniels," the principal said, standing, "we've been waiting for you." Marcus nodded politely but did not sit. "What are the next steps? What happens from here?" One of the board members cleared his throat. "We are cooperating fully with law enforcement. The detective in charge has already requested all digital devices belonging to Mr. Lewis. His classroom has been sealed off. We'll begin interviewing students tomorrow." "No," Marcus cut in, calm but firm. "You'll begin today." The room fell silent. The principal blinked. "Sir, the children are frightened. Interviews." "They're frightened because an adult violated their trust," Marcus said. "Waiting won't make it better." From the corner, Mrs. Carter spoke softly. "We need to be sensitive, but I agree with Mr. Daniels. The sooner we gather information, the better." The first board member shifted uncomfortably. "Detectives will handle the criminal investigation. The school's internal review needs to happen alongside it," Marcus finished. The principal inhaled sharply. "Mr. Daniels, I understand your emotions right now." "My emotions?" Marcus raised a brow. "This isn't about me. This is about every child in that classroom, every child he ever worked with, and every one of you who trusted him without once asking questions." The second board member stepped forward, palms lifted. "We aren't dismissing the seriousness of this. We simply need a protocol." "Protocol won't protect children," Marcus said. "Action will." The principal lowered her gaze. Hannah tugged her father's hand. "Daddy, can we go home now?" Marcus knelt to meet her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, we'll leave soon." But when he stood, he noticed something. Hannah hadn't let go of his shirt since they walked into the room. Her fingers curled tightly, knuckles pale, as if releasing him meant danger would return. He hated that she had learned fear this early. Before leaving, Marcus said quietly but firmly, "I'll be expecting updates. Daily. And if I find out this school ignored any previous complaints or failed to recognize warning signs, I will take legal action, not just for Hannah but for every child affected." The board members stiffened. The principal nodded slowly, understood. With that, Marcus walked out, lifting Hannah into his arms as soon as they reached the hallway. She laid her head on his shoulder, exhausted. Outside, the air felt lighter, but Marcus didn't. He strapped Hannah into her car seat and slid behind the wheel. Before starting the engine, he glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "You're safe," he whispered. Hannah gave a tiny nod but didn't speak. The drive home was quiet, too quiet. No humming, no singing, no pointing at passing cars or asking for ice cream, just silence. When they arrived, Marcus carried her inside. His mother, Grandma Ruth, was waiting anxiously. "What happened?" The school called. "They said something about a teacher being taken away by police." Marcus gently placed Hannah on the sofa. "Mom, it's serious." Grandma Ruth's expression darkened. "What did that man do?" Marcus hesitated. Hannah was listening. So he spoke carefully. "He made Hannah uncomfortable, and today I saw it myself." Grandma Ruth gasped and sat beside Hannah. "Baby, are you okay?" Hannah leaned against her grandmother but didn't speak. Marcus continued. "Police took him. They found photos on his phone." Grandma Ruth closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. Thank God you went today. Thank God she told you. As Marcus watched Hannah curl into her grandmother, he felt a rush of anger and relief all at once. Anger that a grown man targeted innocent children. Relief that he caught it in time. But he couldn't ignore one thought. What if there were other children who weren't heard? He walked to his home office and powered up his laptop. He needed to be prepared for what came next: statements, trials, investigations. Just as he opened a blank document, the door creaked and Hannah slipped inside. She stood quietly, hair messy from stress, eyes soft. "Daddy." "Yes, baby." She walked forward and climbed onto his lap. Was he going to hurt me more? Marcus froze. His heart twisted painfully. The fact that she even had to ask this hurt deeper than anything he had experienced in court. He held her tightly. "No, not anymore, I promise." "Because you came." "Yes," he whispered, "because I came, and because you were brave enough to tell me." Hannah nodded and rested her head against his chest. For the first time that day, Marcus felt a flicker of peace. But it didn't last long. A loud knock struck the front door, 3 sharp hits. Marcus gently set Hannah aside and walked into the living room. Grandma Ruth stood already, frowning toward the entrance. "Who could that be at this hour?" she muttered. Marcus unlocked the door and opened it slightly. A detective stood outside, holding a sealed evidence bag and wearing a grave expression. "Mr. Daniels," he said, "we need to talk." Marcus stepped aside. "Is this about the photos?" "No," the detective said, "it's worse." Marcus stiffened. "Worse how?" The detective pulled out a second bag, this one containing a small notebook with children's names handwritten inside. One of the names stabbed Marcus instantly. H-N-N-A-H-D-A-N-I-L-S. Circle around it. A star beside it. And a note: "She trusts easily." Marcus felt the world tilt. Hannah, hearing her name, peeked from behind the hallway. "Daddy, who is it?" Marcus turned back to the detective, voice low and trembling with controlled fury. "What else did you find?" The detective hesitated, then said the words Marcus feared most. "Mr. Daniels, this wasn't the first time he targeted a child, and based on what we discovered, your daughter wasn't going to be the last." Marcus stared at him. Jaw tight, heart pounding, rage simmering. Whatever came next, he knew the worst part of the storm was only beginning. For a long moment, Marcus didn't speak. His eyes stayed fixed on the notebook inside the detective's evidence bag. Seeing Hannah's name, circled, starred, labeled, made rage coil inside him like a living thing. The detective exhaled slowly. "Mr. Daniels, I know this is difficult, but we need your cooperation as the investigation continues." Marcus forced himself to steady his voice. "Tell me exactly what you found." The detective stepped inside and lowered his voice. "When we searched his desk and personal drawer, we found journals, notes, behavior logs he kept on specific children." He paused. "Your daughter's name appeared in every one of them." Grandma Ruth let out a sharp gasp and clutched her chest. "Lord have mercy." Marcus's jaw tightened. "What do the notes say?" "He tracked patterns," the detective replied. "Who was shy, who responded to praise, who was attached to which parent, which children smiled at him. He kept disturbing analysis of their behavior." Marcus's fist curled, "And the school never saw this." "He hid it well," the detective admitted. "He wasn't careless, he planned for years." Hannah peeked nervously from the hall. "Daddy, is everything okay?" Marcus quickly moved to her and knelt. "Everything will be okay. Go to Grandma for a bit, all right?" She nodded, hesitating before walking back to the living room. Grandma Ruth wrapped an arm around her protectively. When Marcus returned to the detective, a controlled fury simmered beneath his calm tone. "What happens next?" "We'll need Hannah to speak with a child specialist," the detective answered. "Not today, But soon, it's important we understand what he may have already done, and we may need your testimony when this goes to trial. It will go to trial, Marcus said, and I'll make sure it ends with him locked away forever. The detective gave a sympathetic nod. We'll be in touch with details. And Mr. Daniels, you did the right thing coming to the school today. Marcus didn't feel proud. He didn't feel relieved. He felt horrified that his little girl had been on someone's list. After the detective left, Marcus collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands. The house felt too quiet, too heavy. The ticking clock on the wall seemed louder, echoing his thoughts. Grandma Ruth approached slowly. "Son, what are the police saying?" Marcus lifted his head, exhausted. They found notes, journals. He was watching her, Mom, studying her, planning something. Grandma Ruth pulled out a chair and sat beside him. Did he hurt her? Marcus shook his head. No, he didn't get that far. Then he exhaled shakily. But it could have happened. It almost happened. Grandma Ruth's eyes glistened. God protected that child today. Marcus nodded, though the thought of what could have been still choked him. A few minutes later, Hannah wandered over, climbing into his lap again. She rested her head against his chest, small fingers gripping his shirt softly. "Daddy," she whispered, "was he bad?" Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to scare her, but he didn't want to lie. "Yes, sweetheart, he did something very wrong, but he can't come near you again. Because he's in trouble." "Yes." Hannah nodded slowly, as if fitting the pieces together. "I didn't like him. I tried to move away, but he always came close." Marcus hugged her gently. "You did the right thing telling me." Silence settled between them, soft but heavy. Eventually, Marcus laid her down for a nap, kissing her forehead. "Daddy's right here," he whispered. "You're safe." After she drifted asleep, Marcus returned to his office. He stared at the blank document he had opened earlier. He needed to write a statement. He needed to prepare evidence. He needed to ensure this case was airtight. But his hands trembled when they touched the keyboard. He had argued cases involving abuse before. He had defended victims. He had seen perpetrators go to jail. But he had never imagined his own child being anywhere near danger. A knock on the office door interrupted his thoughts. It opened just enough for Grandma Ruth to peek in. "Marcus, there's someone at the door again." His stomach tightened. "Another detective." "I don't know, but he's wearing a suit." Marcus stood slowly and walked to the living room. When he opened the front door, he was met with a tall man in a navy blue suit holding a folder. "Good evening. I'm Mr. Alvarez, an attorney representing the school district. I heard about the incident today." Marcus crossed his arms. "And you're here for what?" Mr. Alvarez adjusted his tie nervously. "To offer our support. The district would like to issue a statement, but first we want to understand your intentions, legally speaking." Marcus raised a brow. "My intentions?" "Yes," Alvarez said cautiously. "Do you plan to file a civil suit against the district? We need to prepare." Marcus didn't respond right away. He watched the man shift uneasily. After a long moment, Marcus spoke. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you're going to protect other children, whether you're going to investigate properly, whether you're going to tell the truth or hide behind policies." Alvarez swallowed hard. "We will cooperate fully." "You'd better," Marcus said, voice low. "Because if I find even one instance where the school ignored complaints or failed to act, you won't just be dealing with me." Alvarez nodded quickly, stepping back. "We'll stay in touch." When Marcus closed the door, Grandma Ruth stepped beside him. "What did he want?" "To protect the school," Marcus answered. "Not the children, not yet." His mother put a hand on his shoulder. "Then you make them." Marcus sighed. "I intend to." Hours later, after Hannah woke up and ate dinner, Marcus sat with her on the sofa. She leaned against him, watching cartoons sleepily. But suddenly she whispered, "Daddy, he told me something once." Marcus froze. "What did he tell you?" Hannah looked down. "He said, don't tell anyone when he helps me, that it's our little secret." Marcus felt blood rush to his ears. His hand tightened gently around hers. "What else did he say, Hannah?" She hesitated. Then she whispered, "He said someday he would show me something special in his classroom, something just for me." Marcus's heart pounded. He leaned closer, voice calm but strained. "When did he say that?" Hannah bit her lip. "Yesterday." Marcus's eyes widened. Because that meant Mr. Lewis had a plan for tomorrow. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He tried, he lay in bed, he closed his eyes, he took deep breaths. But every time his mind drifted, Hannah's small voice came back to him. Someday he would show me something special in his classroom, something just for me. It wasn't the phrasing of a teacher. It wasn't the phrasing of a man with innocent intentions. It was the phrasing of someone who had a plan. A plan that almost happened. By dawn, Marcus was still awake, standing by the window with his arms crossed as the neighborhood slowly came to life. Grandma Ruth walked in quietly, tying her wrapper. "You haven't slept," she said gently. Marcus shook his head. "I keep thinking about what she told me. He planned something for her, something for tomorrow." Grandma Ruth exhaled. "Thank God you went to that school." He nodded slowly. "Thank God she told me, some children don't." Ruth moved closer. "So what now?" Marcus finally turned from the window. "Now I prepare for court." After breakfast, Marcus called the detective. It didn't take long for the detective to confirm Marcus's worst fear. "Mr. Daniels, based on the notes we retrieved, your daughter was one of the most frequently mentioned children. He wrote about wanting extra time with her. He described her as gentle, easy to influence. He had a schedule." Marcus's blood ran cold. "A schedule for what?" "We're still determining that," the detective replied. "But we believe he intended to isolate her." Marcus felt the ground tilt. Isolation. A predator's first strategy. He thanked the detective and hung up, then sat on the edge of the bed with his head in his hands. Every parent fears danger. But this level of planning, was something else entirely. Around 10 a.m., the principal called. "Mr. Daniels, I wanted to inform you that the district is placing every staff member under review. We're also inviting trained counselors to speak with the children." Marcus listened, but didn't reply until she finished. "Good, but I want written documentation of every step taken. I want transparency." "Of course," she replied, though her voice trembled slightly. After the call, Marcus prepared to take Hannah to meet with a child specialist recommended by the detective. Before leaving, he found her in the living room with her doll collection, brushing the hair of one of the dolls with deep concentration. He sat beside her. "Sweetheart." She looked up with her soft caramel eyes. "Yes, Daddy." "We're going to talk to someone today. A nice lady. Someone who helps kids talk when something scary happens." Hannah blinked. "Am I in trouble?" Marcus felt his chest tighten. "No, baby, not ever. You did nothing wrong." Her shoulders relaxed and she nodded. When they arrived at the Child Advocacy Center, a warm-faced therapist named Dr. Angela greeted them. She spoke gently to Hannah, using soft toys and a small drawing table to make her comfortable. Marcus waited outside the room, packing slowly. Every minute felt like 5. After nearly an hour, Dr. Angela walked out. "She's brave," she said, sitting beside Marcus. "Very observant. She told me about Mr. Lewis. She told me how uncomfortable she felt." Marcus listened intently. She also mentioned he gave her a small sticker during class one day and said it was their little secret. Marcus clenched his jaw. "A grooming tactic." "Yes," Dr. Angela said. She also said he tried to get her to stay behind after class last week, but she told him she needed to find her friend. Marcus swallowed hard. That detail was new. How close was he to acting? Dr. Angela hesitated before answering softly. Too close for comfort. Marcus exhaled sharply. She's safe now. She is, Dr. Angela agreed, and she trusts you completely. That is what protected her. When Marcus brought Hannah home afterward, she seemed lighter. Talking helped her release some of the fear she'd bottled up. By late afternoon, the detective called again. Mr. Daniels, we've gathered enough evidence to move forward with formal charges. Grooming, child endangerment, attempted exploitation, and multiple counts of inappropriate contact. Marcus's voice was steady. Good, let him face all of it. There's more, the detective added. Based on interviews with other students, he had a pattern, and the DA is pushing for the maximum sentence. Marcus nodded. He deserves it. As evening arrived, the family sat together in the living room. Grandma Ruth prepared dinner, while Marcus read through Hannah's favorite storybook with her curled beside him. Hannah paused mid-sentence and looked up. Daddy. Yes, sweetheart. When will he go away forever? Marcus took a deep breath. Very soon. She nodded and snuggled closer, finally relaxing. But just when the day seemed to settle, another sharp knock hit the door. Marcus and Grandma Ruth exchanged looks. Marcus opened it to find the detective again, this time with a grave expression. Mr. Daniels, we need you to come to the station tomorrow morning. The DA wants your full account on record. Marcus nodded. I'll be there. The detective lowered his voice. And we discovered something else in his journal, something about the day you walked in on him. Marcus's heart tightened. What about it? The detective looked him directly in the eyes. He wrote that he was going to test your daughter's boundaries today. Marcus felt his chest tighten painfully. Today? Yes, and you walked in at the exact time he intended to get close to her again. You interrupted something he was preparing to escalate. A cold chill ran through Marcus. He almost didn't arrive in time. He almost wasn't there. The detective continued, your timing saved her. Marcus closed his eyes, realizing for the first time just how narrow the escape had been. The danger had been minutes away, minutes. And then the detective added, there's even a line in the journal that says, tomorrow is the day. Marcus opened his eyes, rage building like fire. Tomorrow. Tomorrow was when everything would have changed. Tomorrow was the day he almost lost his daughter. The next morning arrived with a heavy gray sky, one of those days where even the sun seemed hesitant to rise. Marcus dressed quietly, slipping into a clean shirt and jacket while Hannah still slept peacefully in her room. He watched her for a moment, her small chest rising and falling softly, her braids splayed across the pillow. He whispered to himself, you're safe now, you'll stay safe. At 9 a.m., Marcus walked into the police station, signed in, and was escorted to a conference room where the detective and the district attorney, Ms. Harper, waited. Ms. Harper was a sharp-eyed woman with a calm, steady tone that immediately commanded respect. She stood as Marcus entered. Mr. Daniels, thank you for coming. Marcus nodded and sat. I want to help in any way necessary. Ms. Harper folded her hands. We're building a strong case, but for the charges to hold, and for us to push for maximum sentencing, we need your full statement. Everything from the first time Hannah complained to the moment you walked into the lunchroom yesterday. Marcus inhaled deeply, steadying himself. I'll tell you everything. For the next hour, he walked them through every detail. Hannah's soft complaints, the subtle warning signs, her discomfort, the day she said the teacher stood too close, the day she said he whispered too much, how her voice got quieter each time she spoke about him, how he decided to stop assuming she was exaggerating, how he went to the school unannounced, what he saw in the cafeteria, what he heard, how the teacher touched her back, how she flinched, how he grabbed the teacher's wrist before he could touch her again. The detective nodded as he typed everything. Ms. Harper watched Marcus closely, absorbing every detail. When he finished, Ms. Harper said quietly, "Your daughter's testimony, the evidence on his devices, his journals, and your eyewitness account, combined with statements from other students, give us a full picture of a predator who's been hiding in plain sight for years." Marcus's jaw tightened. He needs to face every single consequence. "Oh, he will," Ms. Harper said. "We're seeking the highest penalty the law allows." The detective added, "The other parents are being notified today. Many of them will likely press charges as well." Marcus nodded. "Good. No child should have to fear someone who's supposed to protect them." After the meeting, when Marcus stepped outside, he paused on the police station steps. The air felt clearer than it had in days, but heavy too, as if the world knew the storm wasn't over yet. Back home, Hannah was helping Grandma Ruth in the kitchen. She hummed while arranging slices of fruit on a plate, her small hands careful and precise. "Daddy," she called when she saw him walk in. She ran into his arms with a smile brighter than anything he'd seen that week. He lifted her. "Were you a good helper today?" "Yes," she beamed. "Grandma let me stir the eggs." Grandma Ruth laughed, and she stirred them with so much energy we almost lost the bowl. Hannah giggled. For a moment, the house felt normal again. But that quiet peace was interrupted at noon by the ringing of Marcus's phone. It was the school district attorney, Mr. Alvarez. Marcus answered cautiously, "Yes." "Mr. Daniels," Alvarez began, sounding strained, "we've uncovered something troubling, something the school board didn't know." Marcus tensed. "What is it now?" "There was a complaint filed last year," Alvarez said, "against Mr. Lewis." Marcus's heart dropped. "What complaint?" "A parent reported that he made their daughter uncomfortable during tutoring hours. The teacher claimed it was a misunderstanding. The principal at the time dismissed it." Marcus felt blood rush to his face. Dismissed it, without investigation. "Yes," Alvarez said weakly. "The parent eventually removed their daughter from the school. The board never received the report." Marcus stood slowly. So Hannah wasn't the first child he targeted. "No," Alvarez admitted, "not even close." Marcus closed his eyes, rage pulsing through him. "All of this could have been prevented," he whispered. I agree," Alvarez said. "The district is preparing to issue a public apology." Marcus ended the call without responding. He paced the living room, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Grandma Ruth stepped closer. "Marcus, what happened?" "They had a complaint," he said softly. "They ignored it." Grandma Ruth gasped. "Ignored, but why?" "Because people like him hide behind he's a good teacher, or he's quiet, or he would never. And meanwhile, children suffer." Hannah watched from the sofa, sensing tension. "Daddy, are you mad?" Marcus softened immediately. He sat beside her. "No, sweetheart, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at grown-ups who didn't do their job." Hannah nodded slowly, placing her hand on his. "Are we safe now?" He squeezed her tiny fingers. "Yes, very safe." But he knew this wasn't over, not until justice was fully served. That evening, Marcus received another call, this time from the detective. "Mr. Daniels, I wanted to let you know the arraignment is set for Friday morning. He'll appear before the judge, and charges will be formally read." Marcus nodded. "I'll be there." "There's something else," the detective added. "When we interviewed Mr. Lewis after his arrest, he tried to claim he was misunderstood, that he was just helping kids. But when confronted with the evidence, he broke down. He admitted he had impulses." Marcus's stomach twisted. Impulses, he repeated. Yes, the detective said grimly, and he admitted that your daughter's gentle nature made her easy to approach. Marcus gripped the phone tighter. His voice dropped to a dangerous calm. And he will never go near her again. That's correct, the detective confirmed. We're pushing for no parole. After the call, Marcus looked at Hannah, who was drawing with her crayons. Her innocence, her softness, her heart that trusted too easily. He would protect it at all costs. But then something unexpected happened. Grandma Ruth walked in holding a letter, one that had just been delivered by courier. Marcus, this came for you, from the school district. Marcus opened it and scanned the page. His eyes widened. It wasn't just an apology. It wasn't just a statement. It was documentation showing that 2 teachers had previously reported odd behaviors from Mr. Lewis, but the previous principal dismissed their concerns as overreacting. Marcus felt heat rush through him. This wasn't negligence. This was systemic failure. And now Marcus had proof. Proof that could change everything. Friday morning arrived like a tightening knot in the air, heavy, tense, expectant. This was the day everything shifted from fear to justice. Marcus rose early, dressed in a crisp black suit, and walked into Hannah's room quietly. She was still asleep, curled around her stuffed bunny, the sunlight warming her caramel skin. He rested a hand gently on her back. "You're safe, baby girl," he whispered. Downstairs, Grandma Ruth was already preparing tea. "Today is the day," she said solemnly. Marcus nodded, yes, and he won't walk freely after this. As they stepped outside, the air felt sharper, clearer. Marcus drove to the courthouse, his jaw set with determination. When he arrived, the parking lot buzzed with reporters, school officials, and several shaken parents who had only just learned their children were listed in the journals too. Some parents approached Marcus quietly. "Thank you for speaking up. You saved not just your daughter, but ours. We didn't know anything was wrong." Marcus nodded, but their words felt heavy. They shouldn't have needed him to speak first. The system should have protected their children long before now. Inside the courthouse, the atmosphere was thick. Whispered conversations filled the hallways. The detective approached Marcus with a small nod. "Mr. Daniels, the judge is ready." Marcus walked inside the courtroom, taking a seat. The district attorney, Ms. Harper, sat beside him. Across the room, guards escorted Mr. Lewis in handcuffs. His once calm demeanor was gone, his eyes hollow, his face drawn tight with panic. He refused to look in Marcus's direction. The judge entered. "All rise." Everyone stood. The charges were read one by one. And with each one, parents gasped softly. Count 1, child exploitation. Count 2, grooming. Count 3, attempted child endangerment. Count 4, possession of inappropriate materials involving minors. Count 5, predatory behavior toward students. Count 6, attempted isolation of a minor. Count 7, breach of trust as an educator. Count 8, multiple violations of mandatory reporting guidelines. The list felt endless. Mr. Lewis trembled. His cuffed hands shook violently. The judge looked toward the district attorney. "Does the prosecution have supporting evidence prepared?" Ms. Harper stood. "We do, Your Honor, including physical evidence, school records, journals, digital findings, and statements from multiple parents and educators. We also have documentation proving the school ignored prior complaints." A murmur swept across the courtroom. Marcus's hand clenched around the folder he brought. The document that confirmed past complaints were dismissed. The judge sighed heavily. "This is deeply disturbing." Then she looked toward Marcus. "Is Mr. Marcus Daniels present?" Marcus stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "Please approach." He walked to the front, the room watching. The judge studied him a moment. "I've reviewed the detailed report from law enforcement. It appears you intervened moments before an escalation could occur. Your vigilance protected your daughter and potentially prevented harm to other children." Marcus nodded but remained silent. His voice, he feared, might crack. The judge continued, "Parents like you are the reason justice succeeds. Thank you for your courage." Marcus felt a quiet ache in his chest, gratitude mixed with the weight of everything that had happened. The judge turned to the defendant. "Mr. Lewis, based on the evidence presented, the severity of your actions, and the danger you pose to minors, bail is denied. You will remain in custody until sentencing." Mr. Lewis's legs buckled. He almost collapsed as officers steadied him. Parents exhaled collectively, a release of breaths held for days. After the hearing, reporters swarmed the hallway, microphones thrust into the air, cameras pointing at Marcus. "Sir, how do you feel knowing your daughter was targeted? What do you want other parents to learn from this? Do you plan to take action against the school district? How is Hannah coping?" Marcus held a calm expression. "No interviews. My priority is my daughter's safety. Justice is moving forward. That's all that matters." He left the courthouse quietly. Outside, he found Hannah and Grandma Ruth waiting in the car. Hannah waved excitedly when she saw him. "Daddy, are you done?" "Yes, sweetheart," he murmured, lifting her into his arms. "Everything is going to be okay now." She hugged him tightly. Later that afternoon, the detective visited their home one final time with paperwork to officially close Hannah's involvement until trial. Before leaving, he looked at Marcus. "She's lucky to have you. Most children don't have someone who listens this closely." Marcus shook his head. "No child should have to fear someone they're supposed to trust." "That teacher won't hurt anyone again," the detective said, "and your testimony was the turning point." When the detective left, the house finally felt calm, truly calm. For the first time in days, the air didn't feel heavy. Marcus walked into the living room, where Hannah was coloring at the table. She looked up. "Daddy, can I go back to school?" Marcus knelt beside her. "Yes, but in a few days, when everything feels normal again." She nodded, "Okay." Then she added softly, "I'm happy you came to see me that day." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "I'll always come for you, always." Grandma Ruth wiped her eyes discreetly, pretending to focus on folding laundry. As night fell, the family gathered in the living room. Hannah curled up between her father and grandmother, finally relaxed, giggling as she pointed at funny shapes in the clouds through the window. The storm had passed. Justice had taken root. Her innocence, protected, preserved, defended, remained intact. Marcus watched her smile, gratitude filling him. Tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow would be safer. Tomorrow, the world would look bright again. And for the first time since the ordeal began, Hannah slept with no fear. Because the danger was gone. Because her voice had been heard. Because justice had been served. And because her father, a lawyer, a protector, a man who listened, made sure the man who tried to harm her would never get another chance.